time. Story, story, story time. Let's read it story time. Story, story, story time. I'm geek the story time. Story, story, story time. You and me, it's story time. Story, story, story time. Let's achieve. Hello, my K crew, and welcome to story time with me, Kayla. How's everyone doing out there? I hope you are making sure to stay cool because it's been so hot in Chicago lately. But I am so glad you are joining me tonight because today we have another special author feature. Today we will take a look at a book from a mother and son duo, Dr. Anya Malcom and her son Rylan Gibbs. They have written a beautiful book about mental health together. So without further ado, the book we will be reading tonight is called The Adventures of Rylan the Great and Friends. George the Worry Wart, a story about overcoming anxiety. Written by Dr. Anya and Rylan Gibbs. You ready to see what this book is all about? Ready, set, let's begin. Whoosh. The Adventures of Rylan the Great and Friends. Stories in mental health awareness for children. George the Worry Wart, a story about overcoming anxiety. Written by Dr. Anya and Rylan Gibbs. Here we go. This is actually the first book in the Rylan the Great and Friends series, and we get to check it out today. To Rylan, Royce, and Reagan, you are stronger than your thoughts. Absolutely. So much stronger. Here we go. George is afraid of everything. George, it's time to turn off the lights. No. Are you sometime afraid of the dark? To turn the lights off? George is afraid of his shadow. No, my shadow will get me. George is terrified of the dark. He is worried about his mom leaving him. He is afraid of bugs. George would not use the swing set on the school playgrounds or at home. George proudly calls himself a Worry Wart. He says that it is a nickname given to him by his mom. Oh, he is afraid of a lot of things, isn't he? One day, Rylan calls over to George to come on the swing set with him and a couple of his friends. George says that he cannot do it and that he has something my mom calls anxiety. Rylan tells George that he knows all about anxiety. Anxiety is when you worry a whole lot and have a fear about something bad happening, explained Rylan. Yes, I am afraid of everything, added George. Oh, I have an idea. I have anxiety. It was then that Rylan decided to go on a mission to prove that it was all in George's mind and that he can overcome his anxiety. Aw, that's a pretty great friend, huh? You always need someone positive in your corner. Rylan first asks, "What proof do you have that your fear is true?" "What do you mean?" asked George. "Let's wait for our shadows to appear." "I am afraid." "Okay, you can hold my hand." "What proof do you have that your shadow will hurt you?" asked Rylan. They both stand there waiting as their shadows start to form. Moments later, their shadows appear and nothing happens. George then realizes he has no proof that his shadow will harm him. Oh, it was what he thought was going to happen. It was in his head. On another day at school, Rylan and George head over to the swing set. "I don't know about this. I can't do this," cries George. Rylan replies, "Yes, you can, George." Rylan adds, "What proof do you have that you will fall off the swing and die?" Again, nothing happens. Rylan and George later began to giggle with each other as they swung back and forth in excitement. Hey, he conquered another fear, didn't he?
There was no proof that he was going to fall off the swing. And you know what? Even if he did fall off the swing, look how high it is from the ground. It's not that high. After that day, George began to face his fears. What proof do I have? See you later, George. What proof do I have? George sees a worm coming towards him. Remember in the beginning of the book, he was afraid his mom would leave, and he was also afraid of bugs. And look, he's hanging out with a little worm. Every day, George grew braver. He would quickly realize that his fears were not true and that they were all in his mind. He simply had no proof that they were real. And now, every time a fear or worry arises, George would quickly challenge it. And that is how George stopped being a worry wart and overcame his anxiety. Thank you, Rylan. Oh, I'm glad he overcame it. It was all in his head. And there's a note to parents in the back of the book. And she also left a nice little activity that you know, really anyone can do anytime they're having some anxiety going on. And here's a little bit more about our authors. She is a clinical psychologist in Virginia and the Turks and Caicos Islands. And Mr. Rylan himself is an excellent elementary school student who loves reading and playing video games. Aww. Wonderful, wonderful job. And they even left some space for you to write out your feelings and create your own list of worries. The end.
Yes, K Crew! You know, I really like that saying, what proof do you have? You never know really until you try anything. So if you may be stressed out about a test or afraid of the dark, just tell yourself, what proof do you have that things are going to be bad? Now, I hope you enjoyed reading this book as much as I did. To find your copy, make sure to head on over to Amazon, and you can also check out her other book, and be sure to follow her on social media. This is another great book that you can add to your home library, to a classroom library, and also I think this should be in every counseling office at schools. Now, I thank you all out there for joining me as well, and I also want to give a shout out to Reagan and Royce. Hey! I thank you all so much for joining me, but it's time to sing goodbye. Are you ready? Here we go. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. My friends, goodbye to you. I hope to see you again real soon. Be proud of all your work tonight. Now climb into bed and sleep real tight. On the count of 3, let's say goodnight. 1, 2, 3, go!